So this apparently was a letter that had been written to Lucifer, or to their meetings, they do midnight meetings. Looking at him talking about it as if he's just talking about something that is just casual and normal. The devil was actually in my house. In my kitchen, on everything. Statement that says work as if you're working for God. Whether people acknowledge you or they don't acknowledge you. I said, go ahead and investigate me if you want. You can call the police on me. My hands are clean.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Jessica Zulu channel. I'm here again with my mother and we are on episode 5 on unpacking her memoir, Shooting Through Concrete Walls. If you haven't caught up on episode 1 to 4 of the unpacking of Shooting Through Concrete Walls, what are you waiting for? You are definitely missing out.
Yeah.
We went deep, we unpacked, we healed, we encouraged, and
inspired.
There's a lot to take away from it. And also, if you have not grabbed a copy of my mother's memoir, what are you waiting for? It's available on Amazon. It can be delivered anywhere that you stay, anywhere where there's Amazon delivery, or you can contact us actually, and you can find my mother on Instagram and Facebook. Her handle is just Jessica Ziwuku, same as her YouTube channel, and you can contact her and reach out even if you need encouragement, because she's open to actually hearing from you and encouraging you and being a helping hand whenever she can. So yeah. So on our last episode, we were speaking about how you had now moved into this townhouse in Pine Slopes, and your life had drastically changed from the time you were sleeping in Mkuku to being in a townhouse in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yes.
Wow.
In 2 weeks, I had moved from sleeping in a mkuku on a mattress, dusty mkuku for that matter, into a townhouse in Pine Slopes 4 ways, rent-free.
Wow, that is amazing. I love that story. And as you are now living in this townhouse, can you take us through what concrete walls you had to encounter and shoot through while you were there?
Interesting. So if you followed my previous episodes, I moved into the townhouse. I was staying in a large bedroom with an ensuite, but I didn't have a bed, neither did I have a TV. So I was staying in this poshy environment, poshy house, but I still didn't have much to my name. But still, I was just grateful for that opportunity. I was happy.
The beauty of small beginnings, right?
Yes, beauty of small beginnings. I was actually sleeping on the floor with my 2 blankets, and this was at the beginning of winter. So imagine 1 blanket, I'm folding it to form a little mattress so that at least it's comfortable enough, not to be, so that I cushion myself from the hard surface, from the hard floor. And 1 blanket I had to fold just so that I cover myself, but still, that large folded blanket wasn't warm enough to protect me from the cold, because it was now the beginning of winter, so it was really tough. Some nights I would actually sleep up to midnight with the heater on, trying to warm up the room, and then for safety reasons I then had to switch it off, but I would wake up around 2-3 shivering in the cold.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that was the hard part.
Joburg is the cold down part of South Africa.
Yes,
yeah.
I was in Joburg, 4 ways Joburg, so it was very cold. And I guess even in that year, remember I just moved from Zimbabwe 2 to 3 months prior to that, so I was getting used. Zimbabwe is warmer than Johannesburg.
It's very
2-3 degrees warmer. So even the winters in Zimbabwe are slightly warmer than the winters in South Africa. So that winter that year, I don't know whether it was really, really cold or it was just me who was not used to the environment. I really felt the cold that year. Yeah. So fortunately, the townhouse where I was staying wasn't far from work. Well, maybe it was far, but because I wasn't paying taxis, I had to walk. I had to just walk like 45 minutes to work. I didn't feel the distance. I probably took it as an exercise opportunity. So I used to walk to work and walk back home. And I didn't have entertainment, and I didn't have a comfortable place to sleep in. So sometimes I would actually go to the nearest mall after work to to entertain myself at Monte Casino.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a bookshop that I used to go quite frequently, exclusive books. So sometimes
yes.
I'd find myself going to read in exclusive books, sometimes just taking a walk around the mall and just going through the slot machines and just whiling up time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, as you were now adjusting to your new life, how then did how was work? How was it at home? Who were your friends? Did you have any friends? You said you had roommates.
Yes, I had.
How was it living with male roommates?
Oh, it wasn't difficult. Fortunately, I guess they were busy people. So they probably focused on work. By the time they got home, they'll be tired, or they'll just pass by the club and then get home and sleep. So we used to keep our distances and we had our boundaries. So sharing a place with them wasn't difficult. I kept my boundaries, they kept their boundaries, we respected each other's space, which was quite good. And so I didn't really struggle with sharing until one fateful evening.
Okay.
Until one fateful evening. Oh, by the way, before we get to that one fateful evening, I just want to give a bit of context so that I shed light so that the story is clearer. So remember, I didn't have a TV. So one of the guys that used to stay in another bedroom, they were sharing, two guys. So they had a TV in their room. I didn't have a TV in my room. There was no TV in the lounge. So on days when they'll be available, I would then request to go into their room and watch certain, series or TV, drama series and reality shows, specific ones. So on this particular day, they were around, they'd come home earlier than usual. And then I said, can I please come and watch TV? I think it was around 7 p.m. in the evening or around 7:30 thereabout. Yeah, and being a very cold evening, I decided, okay, before I go there, let me just make myself a cup of tea. And then, so I'm dressed warmly, I'm making myself a cup of tea. As I walk into the kitchen to where the electric kettle is so that I boil my water, I then came across a transparent envelope, but it had inside it some papers that were inscribed in red. So they caught my attention, seeing something written in red. I was just like, oh, what's that? I just got I just got inquisitive.
What was the handwriting like?
Just like a normal handwriting, visible, you could read it, but from a distance, I'm like, oh, who's writing? What are they writing? It was just it just caught my eye.
Yeah.
It was quite close to where the kettle was, so I just
it was just a matter of just passing.
Yeah, I was passing, grabbing a cup and putting water in my kettle, and then I saw this. I'm like, oh, what's this? So the first sentence of that envelope caught my eye, and I couldn't resist. I was like, wide-eyed. I started pouring over this, and I was shocked at what I read.
What did you read? We are
reading.
all very curious to know.
Okay. So this apparently was a letter that had been written to Lucifer.
The Lucifer we know.
Lucifer, like in the devil.
The devil.
Yes. Just like we are Christians, and sometimes we write prayers. You can even maybe inscribe in prayer, God help me, So this was actually a prayer that had been written by somebody addressing Lucifer as their God and making specific requests. And this particular request, because the first time I read, Dear Lucifer, open the floodgates of hell. I'm like, is this a joke? So in my mind, I couldn't believe it was real, right? So I'm like, who's playing a funny joke? So I kept reading because I'm like, oh, maybe it's a joke. Maybe I'm going to see something that will dispel whatever I'm seeing this. So please open the floodgates of hell. So it continued. I don't remember the exact words, but it was like a lengthy prayer. And they were asking the devil to unleash warfare on Christians.
And you are a Christian, we are Christian.
And I'm a Christian. So I'm a Christian. I'm praying every day, morning, afternoon, evening. Anytime as I go to work, as I take my 45-minute walk to work, I'm just praying in my heart or under my breath. I see this and I'm thinking, who's playing a lame joke? What kind of joke is this? So my mind didn't want to believe what I was saying. I didn't want to believe that this is somebody who actually took time to write. So as I'm still there, wondering whether it's a joke, it's not a joke, I'm trying to understand, process what just happened, what I just read. one of the gentlemen that I was sharing with, who was staying in another room, walks out of his room towards the kitchen. So I'm standing there. I haven't even started boiling my water.
I'm sure you're puzzled.
I was shocked. I think first of all it was disbelief, then shock, then confusion. Like, I think within a few minutes I had experienced a mixture of different feelings. So it was disbelief, horror. I don't know whether I was fearful immediately, but I knew later on I was really scared later on. But at that time it was like,
because I mean, someone is
unleashing warfare on people of my religion. Yeah. But I'm like, maybe it's a joke. Maybe people don't know where to draw the line. So I'm standing there, horrified, literally horrified. A mixture of emotions, thoughts going through my head, disbelief. I'm trying to think any other thoughts except thoughts that can confirm that this is happening and is real. And then out of the other room walks another gentleman that we were sharing with. We were working together as well. He walks towards the kitchen, towards where I was. And I took that opportunity to ask. I'm like, do you know who these papers belong to? And then he just casually mentions the name of Sage. So one of the guys, I use the name Sage in the book. So he uses Sage. He's like, these are Sage's papers. But he casually says that. Then I'm like, what do you mean they're Sage's papers? It looks like his prayers. He's like, yeah, that's the religion that Sage belongs to. And then he just casually grabs, I don't know, he had come to grab something in the kitchen. He takes whatever it is, he walks away. So I'm there, cup in hand, water in a kettle. I'm here to boil a cup of tea so that from here I go to the room where Sage and his roommate share. That's where the TV was. So now I'm standing there, I'm thinking, am I going to continue? Am I going to go and watch TV in Sage's room? Or am I going to go back to my room? But I've already asked them for permission to say, can I come? So they're expecting me. But
and Sage wasn't home.
Yeah, he was there. He was in the room with his roommate. So now I'm thinking, now that I know, I've always gone to this room, but I had not known. So I didn't really, well, they were not my friends. We were just, colleagues. We worked together. So we talk on a, work basis. Our relationship was work related. At work, obviously, we were roommates, but at home we were roommates, but we had our boundaries. Hi, oh, you want to cook? Okay, so we just shared space. So now I'm thinking, do I continue to go to Sage's room? Or do I just go and retreat and just disappear and go to my room? But my heart is scared. But now, things of the spirit, in my mind I'm thinking, if Sage is really deep into this religion, is he that spiritually alert to the point that by now he knows that I know? Now I'm overthinking. I'm like, probably he already knows that, hey, Jessica knows this. So if I don't go, he's gonna know, oh, so Jessica knows, so she didn't wanna come. Either she's scared or what. So I'm like, no, I'm not gonna be scared. I'm gonna be bold. So I was caught in between. I don't wanna be scared of this religion and what's happening. So I'm not gonna be scared of even interacting with him. So I actually made my cup of tea and I went to the room. I don't remember watching the series and paying attention, because when I walked into the room, Sage stepped out. So there was another door that led to a little balcony, and then he went out. So when I got in there, his roommate was there, and then I said, oh, where's Sage? He was here. And he's like, oh, he went for a smoking break. I was in the house in their room for about 30 minutes until that show ended, and Sage didn't come back during that time. So I don't know really what happened. I don't want to speculate, but from the time that I went in, Sage was not in until the time I left. So I'm sitting there watching TV, his roommate is there. Then I whispered and I said, oh, there's some papers that I saw in the kitchen, and I'm told that they belong to Sage. Do you know about those papers? Do you know anything about Sage's religion?
Who were you asking?
The roommate. There were two guys who used to share a room.
And then one more.
So the house was 3-bedroomed.
Okay.
The house was 3-bedroomed. I slept in the other bedroom. The other guy that came to the kitchen and I asked he slept in the other bedroom. Sage and his other roommate shared another bedroom. So we were 4 of us sharing a 3-bedroom house. So the other 3 were guys. So now Sage's roommate is in the room. Sage steps out. I'm left in the room with his roommate. So now I'm asking his roommate, I saw some papers in there, and I asked the other guy who stays in the other room, and he said there were Sage's papers. Do you know anything about those papers? Do you know anything about the religion? I'm trying to not speak loud enough in case Sage hears me from wherever he is. And then he's like, oh yeah, casually. Oh yeah, I know it's his religion. Yeah, he goes at midnight. When we come from work, he comes and changes and wears a black suit, and they go to church dressed in black suits and white shirts and ties, and they go dressed in suits. So they go to their meetings, they do midnight meetings. I was looking at him talking about it as if he's just talking about something that is just casual and normal. I'm horrified, and I said to him, but I thought you said you're Christian. In our conversations, you mentioned that you're Christian. He's like, yeah, I'm Christian. And I'm like, how do you feel, you being a Christian? He worships the devil, and you're okay with it, and you share the same room with him, and you hang out, you do things together. He's like, no, he does his own thing, I do my own thing. So I decided to not even engage any further. I didn't want to look like I was going to be judgy or whatever, but in my mind, I was like, okay, he says he's Christian, I'm going to leave it, I'm not going to say too much. And I was so shocked. In my mind, I was like, from what I know, light and darkness do not coexist. I don't understand how, because I believe if Sage comes from his church meetings, wherever, or his gatherings, or whatever they're doing, there's a spirit, obviously, that leads him, that governs what he does. And then you saying you're Christian, and I'm assuming if you're a Christian, you're going to be praying regularly or often, or whatever number of times you pray. So the spirit, the Holy Spirit, God's Spirit that you are supposed to be inviting, and he's inviting his satanic spirits, how do they exist in this house? Like, how do you even feel okay? So I had these questions in my head, and I just couldn't understand, but I didn't want to say much. I just left it. But these were things that were happening in my head. After the 30 minutes, I thanked them. Thank you for inviting me. Good night. But my heart was throbbing under my chest. I was like,
I can imagine.
Yeah, I was scared. I was trying to be strong, but inside I was scared. I think I was still processing. I just couldn't understand how this thing is happening. I had so many questions.
Because you hear about them, but to see for yourself,
to experience it,
and
to
be
see
close.
how
like the prayer was very violent. You know, it wasn't just like a prayer for oneself. It was a prayer against attacking. Exactly.
So for me at that time, I knew this was time for warfare, even from my end. So I walked out of that room, and I was wondering, what is Sage doing wherever he is? I'm sure by now, because now I'm like, I am going. I was scared, I was shaking, but I was trying not to show it. And then by the time I got to the room, I just went on my knees and I started praying. And I just started praying, and I was just so scared. I'm a Christian, I was prayerful, but at that time I was so scared because it was so real and so close. It was so close. And now I didn't even know to what extent, because I knew that I couldn't just pray my normal, prayers. I just needed to step it up a little bit higher, because the devil was actually in my house. In my kitchen, on everything that we shared in the house, he was there.
You were sharing plates.
Yeah. The kettle that we were using was mine, and they were using it. The iron that was in there, I bought it, and like, we're roommates, you can share. So, so the devil was literally invited in my house. So I went in my room, I knelt, I prayed, and I actually engaged in a warfare. Like, I was really attacking. After a while, I just said, God, please protect me. I'm going to bed. I didn't sleep that day. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep the next day. Like, literally, the moment I would switch off my lights and think I'm going to sleep, I just felt like a heavy presence. You know, when you feel like there's a presence in your room, it was just like a heaviness. It was literally heavy. So I would wake up and I'm like, blood of Jesus.
Switch off your light.
Like, I'm normally like, I switch off my lights when I sleep.
I wouldn't be able to switch. I mean, I do not like sleeping with lights off anyway, but
yeah, I wanted to rest for work, so I would feel the heavy presence.
I love that you're even courageous to do that, to switch off your lights.
So I would wake up. I would, like, almost as I'm falling asleep, wake up, start casting, start binding, start speaking the blood of Jesus. I didn't sleep, literally. I didn't sleep that evening. Morning came, as usual, took my bath. the 3 gentlemen would leave the house earlier than me, out then walk out a little bit later than them, and I was just speaking in tongues, casting binding. But I resolved that when I get to work, I would obviously see him, I would interact with him. I said, I'm not going to stop doing what I normally do. If I meet him, if I need to ask something from him, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to speak.
Which is good, because as much as warfare is spiritual, sometimes people want to take it physical as well.
Yeah.
And that's not right. You can't fight a spiritual battle physically.
Yeah.
It's not right. And I
Yeah.
think even in our faith, like, Jesus wouldn't do that. Like, he would still sit with sinners but pray for them to find the way, like, to find salvation, you know.
Yeah.
So I like that you came to that conclusion and you told yourself that this wasn't a physical fight.
Yes.
And I'm going to continue to interact with him the
Yes.
way that I would interact with him on a normal day.
Yeah.
Because then you see other people, when they take these things up in the physical, it doesn't end up well. But just know that you can still pray, and God will handle it. And you on your own, you just maintain being a peaceful person, being a kind person to whomever it is.
Yeah. So my biggest challenge at that time, remember, my boss had offered me a place to stay at no cost. I wasn't paying rent. So I'm asking God, I'm like, God, you have given me this job. You have given me these opportunities, these open doors. I'm looking at these as blessings. The job, the favor. I had an awesome relationship with my boss. He trusted me. We had a good relationship. And now my boss has offered me a place to stay where I don't pay rent. And this place is a place that I ordinarily wouldn't be able to afford.
Yeah.
I am not going to quit my job. I am not going to move out of this house, because my next best option was to move out of this house in this townhouse, in this exclusive place, exclusive suburbs, and go to the location and the townships, because that's what I could afford. That's what
it's not safe.
It's not safe, high crime and all that. But I can't run away from what God has given me, because I'm facing the devil face of So that was my other prayer. I said, God, you brought me here. You know how you're going to fight this. What I know is light and darkness do not coexist. And I know that light will always conquer over darkness. So God, fight this battle and win. I don't know how you're going to fight it, but I know you're going to win this battle. And the other resolution I then made is, I knew my boss was Christian. He's always said, he used to mention that he's Christian, he goes to church, he prays with his wife. But I said, I am not going to go and tell the boss that one of your employees who's also staying with me, who comes and works in your company, belongs to the satanic religion. I'm not going to do that. But God, you're going to fight. You know how you're going to solve this. Because he probably is a Christian who actually won't accept that. Or maybe he, like this other roommate of Sage's, might be a Christian who says, you know what?
Yes.
I don't mind.
And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you now appear like a very judgmental person.
Judgmental or a snitch.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't want, because remember, you just mentioned sometimes spiritual battles, you don't have to fight them in the physical.
Yes.
So I said, if I then go and tell my boss, because he's Christian, I might be fighting in the physical. And the intention that I mean will not
taken
be
out of context.
Because
like, the general thing is you must accept everybody, like you must love everyone.
Exactly.
So other people, that's also another thing that even comes from religion itself. Like in our Christian faith, you must love your neighbor, love your brother, and even love the people that do you wrong and pray for them.
Exactly.
So what if your boss would have been that person who's like, okay, I know this person and that's their religion, but we pray for such people, and you love them and you open your arms because that's what we're gonna be, and then you come across as someone who is just pretending to be holier than thou and doesn't really apply.
And
you risk facing that if there's no, like, if you're not spiritual in your approach to how you approach the situation.
So I decided to pray more and not even report this. So I was quiet. I didn't say anything to my boss. I didn't say anything to anyone. I never discussed it. I probably maybe called a few friends or relatives of mine to tell them of, wow, I was in this situation. So the second day, third day, I think around the third day, then at least I could manage to sleep a little bit. I got a little bit of peace. It became a little bit better. But the first night and the second night, I literally couldn't sleep. That heaviness was there. I could feel like you literally feel a very heavy, spiritual heaviness that was there. Like I was thinking to myself, so when he went out to smoke, he actually knew I was coming in. So he stepped out because he knew I was already in the fighting mood, and then probably came back. I don't know where he was. I don't even know if he came back immediately after I left the room. I don't know. But now he's spiritually visiting my room or whatever spirits are visiting. That
must have been scary.
It was because I was like, that spirits, the satanic spirits are now coming in my room because now I'm fighting them directly and saying, you spirits, I come to you in the blood of Jesus.
That must have been tough because sometimes you just hear about those things. Like the distant story.
Yeah.
Like you said, the devil was in the house.
The devil was literally invited in a house. Sometimes he invites himself. But in this case, he was invited.
It was written on that paper.
Yeah. So weeks passed. Things became a little bit normal. I was getting less scared. I kept on praying. I'm not sure if it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks, thereabout. Still praying for protection every day, praying for God's cover, the Holy Spirit cover me, praying for God to fight for me, praying that God shows himself. He rises and shows himself and fights this battle and wins this battle. So that was my prayer. Until one day when I was in the office and my boss, Dean, walks in and he says, Jessica, is your room in your flat locked? Since when does he care about whether my room is locked? He's never really bothered to find out if, And then I'm like, yeah, it's locked. I lock it all the time. He's like, oh, I just wanted to make sure that your room is locked because from this moment, I want Sage out of that house. I want him out of the company. I don't want him anywhere near. I'm sitting there. I'm like, huh? Because 1 minute I was just wondering, why is he asking me? He's like, I want Sage's roommate to walk with him to your unit, to your flat. In the next hour, I've already called the security at the gate. He must have taken everything of his and be out of that gate. I don't want him. In the next hour, he must be out. I'm like, what happened? He's like, he did not even say anything. He just said, I want him out. I want him out in the next hour. And indeed, he excused Sage's roommate. Sage went to the flat.
How did you see Sage leaving?
I didn't. I was in the office. I don't know where Sage was. I didn't see him leaving. But his roommate went and later on he said Sage just left.
And you didn't ask why?
I asked, but the boss was so enraged. He looked so angry.
Like the roommate. Your roommate.
No, I didn't ask the roommate. I didn't ask. But eventually, I think a day or two later, I just heard that Sage came to work and she probably just had a scuffle or a misunderstanding or a little argument with the client. So, and then, but I don't know the magnitude of the argument. I don't know what the magnitude of the argument, but in my mind I was thinking that you could have been cautioned or you could have been told, don't do this next. I don't know how big it was, but that's what I heard.
That was the light taking space there.
Possibly. So, that very day, when Sage's roommate had gone with Sage so that Sage would pack his things and leave within the hour that he had been given, Dean, my boss, walks back into the office and says, Jessica, how was your relationship or living relationship with Sage and the guys? And I'm thinking, you haven't asked me this in a while. Why suddenly when you have just dismissed Sage are you asking me this? I'm like, no, like I said, when I moved in, if they keep distance, if they keep their boundaries, I don't have a problem. So they kept their boundaries, we respected each other's space. I didn't have a problem. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, our living conditions, our living thing. Because I was now trying to understand why he's asking me. So I was not sure whether this is the right time to tell him about this religion thing or I should leave it. So when he said, are you sure? Then I said, our living conditions were fine, except I just didn't agree with his religion. And then he says, what religion? I'm like, you don't know? He's like, what religion are you talking about? And then I said, I thought you knew. It's like, what religion are you talking about? I'm like, he worships the devil. He's like, what are you telling me? I'm like, I honestly thought you probably knew because you employed Sage before you employed me. When I came here, you already was in your employ, so I thought you might have known. He's like, Jessica, what are you telling me? Then I obviously narrated the story of how I found it. And he says, how long have you known this? And I'm like, it's been a while. I don't know whether it was 3 weeks or so. And then he says, why didn't you tell me?
Wow.
You know that I'm a Christian. You know that I go to church, I pray, and I even pray for my business. And I pray that God blesses my business.
Wow.
Why did you not tell me? Then I said, his roommate says he's a Christian. And his roommate, when I asked him how they managed to live together, he says he doesn't mind. So I didn't know whether you are the Christian that tolerates this other religion or you're the Christian that doesn't want. You mentioned yes that you're a Christian, but I didn't know. So I didn't want to be the snitch or the person who then comes as if she wants to badmouth other religions.
Yes.
But you know what I did? I want to assure you, from the very day, this is me telling him, from the very day that I found out, I've been praying that God shows himself.
Wow.
And the fact that you have actually dismissed him the way you did, for whatever reasons, I don't know what reasons, I believe it's God who's answered prayer.
Wow.
So I want you not to blame me for not telling you, because every single day, every moment, I was praying that God protects this business, protects my space, protects where I am, and protects all the Christians.
Yes.
Because the prayer in there was to attacking Christians. So if you're a genuine Christian, like you say, I was praying for you. I decided not to speak about it, but I decided to pray about it.
Wow.
That very day, I had countless phone calls from his wife.
What?
Jessica, my husband just told me this. Next time you find anything that is a mess, please be free to tell us. Don't hesitate anything. We are Christians. We pray for our business. We pray that God blesses us. If you see anything that you just think is abnormal, please tell us. But that's how Sage left the company.
Won't God do it? Won't he show himself?
He
If
does.
you let him take his glory, he will do it in his own way, according to his own terms.
Yeah. And one thing I just like we said, don't talk about it, pray about
Pray
it.
about it. Wow.
Don't go around just talking and leave it there.
You would have started a grapevine,
Exactly.
and everybody would have been gossiping. Maybe
Jessica
you
wants
would
other
have
people
caught-
fired.
Yeah.
Or
You
people,
could have been caught in some scandal.
or maybe you might have been fired earlier, and then people would then say he was fired because of Jessica.
Imagine.
And then it would be a bad thing. People won't really look at the principles of Christianity versus Satanism.
And what he was actually doing
Exactly.
in the spirit.
They will
to
not look at
attack.
that. They'll just say Jessica caused. Yeah. So I'm grateful that God helped me. And that was testimony for me. I was like, God, you answer prayers in the most, and I actually didn't expect it. I was just busy living my life and saying, God, show yourself. But
I love that.
God just showed
You
himself.
had let go.
Yeah.
You had let go and let God.
Yeah, and I didn't fight that battle in my physical. I fought it on my knees.
Purely, 100%.
Yeah, on my knees. Yeah.
Wow. You just had to tell them in retrospect.
Later on, when it had all passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's a testimony. It's one of those testimonies that took me from whatever challenges I then faced later on.
Yeah.
I held on to that. I was like,
Yes.
God, you made me pass through this valley. I went into this valley of shadow of death. I managed to get out of
That was truly a valley of shadow of death. Because I feel like sometimes you pray for protection, but you never really get close to face to face. This person, they go out at midnight.
Yeah. And then my boss after that, when he was asking me for more details, because now I think he was overwhelmed, he was confused, he was just wondering, so how many of those prayers he even prayed in the business, right? And then he says, oh, now it makes sense. There was a day he came to work and he had these cat eyes.
Huh?
Yeah. I don't know what he used to put, or was it contact lenses that were gray, green, but they look like cat eyes. So one time he came to the office and he had those cat eyes, and I think he had on his phone a screensaver or something that had a devil icon with the horns. But you know how people then just normalize and think, it's just a picture, but for him it was significant. Yeah. So then it starts making sense. No wonder those cat eyes. Oh, no wonder those icons, those devilish icons that I saw on his phone. They were just not pictures that he liked. They represented something that he believed in.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how the sage's story. Yeah. So that was one concrete wall,
Like,
a religious
I
concrete
don't know how
wall,
many
a spiritual.
times I've heard it, but it still surprises me to this day. Imagine the title of the video: I lived with a Satanist.
I shared a house with a Satanist. I shared a house and worked with a Satanist.
Who was praying for your downfall?
Who was praying for my downfall? Definitely.
Wow, you are truly a woman of faith, and I'm sure your faith has gotten you through so many more things. And I'm sure you look back and you see God's hand
Definitely.
throughout your life.
Throughout. And there are instances where sometimes you face hardships and things don't work out the way you want, because it's life is just continuously a battle,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You fight one battle, you conquer it, and then you feel like, okay, I'm in a very triumphant stage in my life. Things are working, and then suddenly boom, another brick wall, you hit another brick wall. So you're continuously facing challenges and fighting them and conquering them. And then sometimes you feel overwhelmed because you're tired and you feel like, but when am I going to get a break? I keep on facing these problems. But these are some of the testimonies that keep me, grounded,
Yes.
and that show me that God actually is there and He exists and He's fighting in our corner. Sometimes we don't see it. It took me 3 weeks for me to actually then see the answered prayer. But there was a time I just made peace and I couldn't see what was happening until boom, miracle, answered prayer. So sometimes it might take long, but for answers to our prayers to come, but sometimes you have to hold on to the testimonies, the testimonies of the things that God has done. So this is one example where when I sometimes get overwhelmed, I'm like, but I prayed in this instance and God came through.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can never forget this one.
No,
Wow.
definitely not.
Amazing.
Yeah. So even after that, life continued. We were happy. Work was good. I continued to face other, different challenges in the workplace.
Like in the same workplace where your boss favored you and trusted you.
Yes, in the same workplace. Not coming from my boss, coming from my colleagues and people, conflict and people stirring trouble for me.
Oh, because they could tell that you were very favored, or like were you evidently close to your boss?
Yes, I was evidently close to my boss. I was kind of like his right-hand person.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everything he trusted in.
There were other managers, but the office that I shared, he relied. I was doing stock control, administration, the kind of thing. So regardless of him having managers, he would trust my variance analysis for him to manage what the managers were doing. So as much as managers were there doing whatever they needed to do, he would rely on my reports as reports that showed where the operations are being run the way they should. Yeah, so I was kind of like his right. And remember, and remember, just before I moved to 4 ways, I was moving with him for 2 weeks daily.
Yes.
I was, let's go this place. I'm in his car. Oh, Jessica, let's do this. So people were like, why is she moving with the boss all the time?
What makes you so special?
What makes her so special? Yeah, what's special in her? That the boss would just like, let's do this.
You're a new person.
Yeah.
You're coming out of nowhere.
Yes, they don't know where I came from.
Yeah.
I was not referred by anyone they knew. Yeah.
And you are staying in your boss's
That
house.
that is another issue, because remember I just started work. Even these are the managers that I was sharing with. Because when I moved in, remember I didn't have a bed. I only managed to buy the bed after the first month after I got my salary, right? So they had some furniture. So they were wondering, how can she afford to stay in this townhouse? And why did the boss make her get the en-suite?
Were they paying?
Initially, they were told that they were going to pay, but later on, then I think the boss then decided nobody's paying. But initially, I think they had been told, so they also believed I was going to be paying. So they were like, she doesn't even have a bed. How can she afford to pay rent here? So I'm sure people had questions. How can she be staying here? She doesn't seem like she's got anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the boss is like always next to her.
Wow.
Yeah. And remember I just moved to South Africa, so there were other people from home who were doing other work that is different from the work I was doing. So they also
had an office job.
I did.
Not everybody could have an office job.
Some people,
it was only for a few people.
Yeah, it was for a few people. So some people who didn't have an office job would wonder, why is she in that place, and what's special about her?
Wow.
And these are the very people that were now steering trouble for me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So people became envious of you.
Let me give you an example, maybe two examples. First example, I'm working in an office. I work on a laptop.
Yes.
And then there was like an electrical fault and a plumbing issue, and then plumbers were called to come and fix. So there was just, people were not working during that. I don't know whether it was an hour or two.
Yes.
We were just milling around. So there was like a big open space, and I had a little office next to that open space. So the guy, who was doing the plumbing and the wiring and everything kept on going into my office, so I had to step out so that I give him space to work. So we're just loitering around, milling around. My laptop is on my desk.
Yes.
My boss is there. We're just mingling. Everybody's talking. I don't know if it was an hour later or something like that, and it was getting quieter, and most of the repair work was almost finished. Then I stepped in the office. My laptop is not there. I was just there with everybody else. People are just milling. Nobody's checking what's happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know how my laptop disappeared from my desk. So I walked in. My boss is there. Everybody's just talking to everybody else. And then I go in. I'm like, when I went in the office, he was also coming. And then I moved out quickly. And I'm like, I can't find my laptop. He's like, what? He's like, I'm just stepping in the office. I was just standing out here like everybody else. There's no laptop. Tried to look for the laptop, nowhere to be found. The last person who was seen losing the laptop was me. So the laptop disappeared in my care. And then we tried to search for people. I don't know where the culprit had hidden the laptop, or I don't know what really happened. So we don't know. And there used to be cameras, but because there was wiring that was being fixed and whatever, so the cameras had been switched off.
Oh my goodness.
So around the time the laptop disappeared, so there was no footage for us to be able to track and see what had happened to the laptop. A day later, my boss comes and tells me I've been receiving phone calls.
Phone calls?
From people. They are claiming to be anonymous, but they are people who know you. And I'm suspecting they are people that work here, and they're telling me that I must investigate you.
Random phone calls?
Random phone calls to say, investigate Jessica. She's the one who uses that laptop. Who else would have taken that laptop?
In Shona would say, it's like what makes you so concerned for the boss?
So concerned for the boss, yeah. So they were calling him to say I must be the first suspect. I'm the first suspect. I am potentially.
I've never seen such whistle blowing for a stolen good. Investigate this person.
Yeah. So he comes to me and says, I've been receiving phone calls, and these are people from your country.
Oh my goodness.
And they are telling me that I must investigate you.
So how did he know that this would be?
When Zimbabweans speak and you hear their accent.
Wow. So do you
so
think
it could be the accent, or it could be they asked their names and they told him, but they said please don't tell them who we are. One of the two reasons maybe, but I never got to know.
So they had the guts to.
They had the guts to go and tell him to investigate me and take me for to call the police on me, so that maybe if I get questioned,
Imagine had you actually taken heed of that advice and called the police on you. That would have been traumatic for you.
Very traumatic.
So how
so he just came to me and said,
horrible do people have to be to wish something, not just like they wished that on you, that the police would be called on you.
That I'll be arrested. And lose my job potentially. What are the chances that my boss would keep? Yeah. So my boss said to me, I thought you guys come from the same country. And I thought, as people that come from the same country,
you understand
you understand each other's struggle, and you would have each other's back.
Yeah.
So why would people from the same country as you be calling me to investigate you and take you for questioning as the first suspect in this theft? Then I just said to him, I believe that even siblings can be jealous of each other. and can backbite each other. People born of the same father, same mother can actually wish death on the others.
That's how you responded?
That's how I responded. I said,
Where
siblings, I don't know how that answer came from or where, I don't know. I just said, I believe that even siblings can have a rivalry and jealousy that they can turn against each other.
And as a
So
Christian,
if
I'm
siblings,
sure you could think of Esau, Jacob,
exactly.
Cain,
So
and Abel.
if siblings can turn against each other, what about somebody that I just met here in South Africa, who when I was in Zimbabwe I didn't know? Somebody who I just met at the office, who sees me every day coming in, holding a laptop, driving in your Mercedes Benz, sitting in an office, and they are not sitting in an office. What are the chances that they might not just like me?
Yeah.
For no reason, just because they just don't like me.
Just because.
Yeah. And then he was quiet. And the next day he bought a laptop, and then he says, I bought you a better laptop. It's got better features than the one that you had before.
Wow. Wow.
And that was it. And that was it. And he never said anything more. And it was like back to normal. That's one incident. So I then ended up having a better. It's like I went and bought a better laptop than the one that you had. You got a better
God was
laptop.
continuing.
He was continuing to show up.
Wow. How did that feel for you?
I
To
really
be
felt.
vindicated.
Yeah, I really felt vindicated. I had had a lot of struggles before. I was like, God, sometimes I forget that you love me, but you keep showing me and reminding me that you love me.
You surely did.
Yeah, you
And you
continue to
surely
show me.
did.
So that was one incident where I had an issue from people at work. The second incident, part of my responsibilities at work was to prepare for money to go for banking, right? So some of the proceeds, would come in, the revenue would come in besides card swiping, and also would come in cash. So any cash that came, I would prepare cash ups, and then we would then send it for banking on a daily basis. But then income that comes over the weekend, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, would then be banked on a Monday. So this particular time, it was a Monday, and there was income that had come over the past 3 days over the weekend. And the boss comes to me and says, I'm going to have a busy day today. So when you do your cash up and it's ready for banking, I've got some checks. Those days, remember, it's been a while, it's like years ago. There's some checks that I've written that are going to go. So I need that cash to go so that when the checks come in, there's enough money in the bank, So make sure that today's cash up is banked. And previously, because we were stationed close to a mall and there were banks at the next mall which were closed, the cash ups, when we prepared them, you would just randomly pick someone in the office to go and do the banking. But usually you'd say, when the cash up is ready, tell me, then I'll just select someone to go. So you just pick people randomly, different people. I don't know what instinct you would use to select who to use to send the cash up. So that very day, it got so busy. There were numerous meetings, one meeting after the other, and then I checked the time, and I think it was around 1, and banks were closing around 3, and I thought, the boss is so busy, and I've been trying to remind him that the cash up is ready, but he's just been busy. I don't want to risk the cash not going to the bank if I wait for him. Let me be proactive and send someone to the bank. I know he wants this money to go to the bank, and he has really emphasized that the money must go to the bank lest the checks bounce. So let me, since he's busy, just pick the guy, because for some reason there was a gentleman that he was sending to the bank continuously the previous, I think, week or 2. Like, he kept on, every time I tell me the cash up is ready, you go and pick the same person. The cash is ready, he brings the same person. So there'd been a frequency of the same person coming consecutively. So I said, I think if you were to pick somebody, you would pick this guy again, because he's been picking the same guy. Let me just select the same guy. So this guy was due to go for lunch. So I went to him, I'm like, before you go for lunch, I need you to go to the bank. He's like, no worries. And then I delayed, and then he comes and says, oh, is the cash up ready? So that I go, so that I then take my lunch after. Then I'm like, cash up is ready. I handed him the money.
How much was it?
Those days, that was 2007. It was 10,000 rand, which probably is like 30,000 or 40 or 50,000 in today's, 10,000 rand. And that was the last we saw of him.
Oh my goodness.
The moment he stepped out to go to the bank is the last we saw this guy. Imagine the boss is not the one who called him. I am thinking I'm being innovative. I'm trying to step in and be a problem solver. And money is stolen under my nose. So I was busy, everybody's busy. The gentleman leaves and goes to the bank. I'm busy. After some time, because he was supposed to bring the signed deposit slip. So after like an hour or so, I'm thinking, by this time, this guy must be back. I'm checking my time. I'm like, the bank is not too far, unless if there's queues, but I think by now he should be back. I got out of my desk because now I'm thinking, maybe he came back and forgot to just bring the slip to the office. So I'm walking out of the office to check if he's back, and Dean, my boss, is walking towards the office. He's like, Jessica, I forgot about the bank. I forgot about the banking. Did you do something about the banking? I'm like, that's what I am actually panicking about. I did something about the banking. But I sent the guy that you normally sent, and now it's over an hour. He should be back, but I see he's not yet back. He's like, what time did he go? Yes, banks are closed by now. Banks should be closed. I'm like, yeah, banks are closed. And it's not even a long walk from the banks to here. He just dashed out immediately. I think he just sensed that things are not fine. He just dashed out. We ran to the bank. There was no one. Banks were closed. It was quiet. No sign of anyone. He drove back. He's like, I can't find him. And that was the last we saw of him. We tried to track him. He tried to drive into the location where he used to stay, where people used to say he didn't go to his house that very day. We were told that, remember we're in 4 ways, so we were told his girlfriend stays in Pretoria. The boss drove to Pretoria. The girlfriend didn't come home that evening. So I think he just called his girlfriend to say, don't go. People are going to look for us. Don't go home. Go home. So reports later on just said he had skipped the country, and yeah. I don't know where he'd gone, maybe to spend money.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So then 2 days later, the boss comes to me and says, Jessica, I'm receiving calls.
Again?
Yeah, to say you are in cahoots with this guy. There's no way you could just give him money and not get anything.
These people were not letting up.
They were not. It's like they're calling me, they say you were in it together, you told him, you probably have planned that when he goes he must disappear, you probably had a cut or something. I said, go ahead and investigate me if you want. You can call the police on me. My hands are clean. I'm not saying I didn't do anything, I don't know anything. I'm scared right now. I can't even believe this happened. And
yes.
I'm trying to understand why it happened the way it did. And I'm trying to understand, if I don't send him, you were going to say, but why didn't you do something? But now that I've done something, it backfires on me. I don't know, it's like I was, from a frying pan to a fire, or you're in between these two hard surfaces. Whatever I do, I was doomed. So I'm also trying to understand what could have done differently. But you are free to investigate me. My hands are clean. Go ahead.
Wow.
And then nothing happened. He didn't investigate me. Life continued as if it was fine.
I'm sure
We had our relationship the same way. Nothing changed. I still prepared cash ups. I would tell him, you bank. I still retained my job. I had benefits. My salary was increased after a few months. And then after another few months,
your salary was increased.
And then after another few months, he then says, "Oh, there's a position at head office."
Head office.
Yeah, and the CEO at the head office saw you the other day when he came to the office, and he says, "Can you look for somebody who's got caliber like Jessica?"
Wow.
And then my boss is like, right now.
How were you handling yourself to the point that someone who just comes for a visit is able to notice you? What were the things you were doing at that time?
I think I was not consciously doing anything for me to know that I was doing 1, 2, 3, but I think I was just being as professional.
Mindset, were you operating and doing your best, diligent?
Yeah.
Every morning, encouraged, full of life.
Yeah.
Full of passion.
Exactly.
Grateful.
I'm somebody who puts the best of their effort in everything they do. So if I'm gonna do anything, I just do it to the best of my ability. So I guess even in the workplace, I would just diligently do my work. I'm somebody who socializes with people. I talk to people. So I guess if people come in, I just make them feel welcome.
Yes.
If people ask for any information, I give them the information they want. So I just am professional in the workplace. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what he saw, but from my end, I was just doing the best of what I could do in the workplace. I just did the best.
Wow.
Without even thinking somebody's watching.
Right?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking
That's
anybody's
when
watching.
they find you, when you're just doing your thing
Yeah.
without needing their approval.
I was just doing my best. I wasn't doing it to appease anyone. I wasn't doing it to impress anyone. I was just doing what, I've heard the statement that says, work as if you're working for God. Whether people acknowledge you or they don't acknowledge you, just keep on doing work like you're doing it for God, because God sees everything. So even if these people are not seeing it, just do it.
Wow.
So I wasn't doing it to impress. I just was doing it because that's who I am, I guess. I'm just somebody who does work diligently. Give me something, I just do it to the best of my ability.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, they spoke to my boss and said, I want somebody with that caliber. And my boss then looked and said, I'm sure he checked whatever they were offering, and then he checked what more he could offer me, and then he realized at that time, maybe financially, he couldn't promote me any further.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I might want to look for somebody else, but why am I passing her?
Yeah.
Let me let her go. And then he comes to me and says, there's a position for you at head office if you want to take it. More money.
And how did you feel?
It was like, I just felt like, wow, how does somebody think of you? Like, usually people would want to keep you to themselves.
Yes.
Usually people would want to, I want this person to myself, and then keep you for their own benefit.
Yeah.
They don't normally let you flourish
Yes.
and grow. So it was really humbling. And I was like, God, yeah.
Win after win after
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, regardless. Remember, it was just not win. It was win.
Because the thing is, if you're winning, it's like there's a battle that you're winning.
Okay. So it was win after win, but it was win after battle, win after battle. Yeah.
But every battle you encountered, you won.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that is. Then I moved to the head office.
Where was the head office?
It was in Pretoria.
Oh.
Yeah, it was in Pretoria. So I then moved from Fourways
Wow.
to Pretoria.
What a remarkable story.
Yeah.
One of faith, diligence. What's that word we always like to use? That
Resilience.
you are resilient.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not giving up.
Not giving up.
Putting your best foot forward.
Yeah.
Keeping a
Being
positive.
ethical. Being ethical.
Yeah. Even when no one is watching. It's not about
Yeah.
being ethical in front of people's eyes.
Yeah.
It's being ethical. Internally.
And I think remember, before I moved to Fourways, I used to move around with my boss every day, and
Yes.
I'm just an open book. So I guess when somebody's being honest, sometimes you pick it up.
Yes.
I think you pick it up.
definitely
Yeah.
pick it up.
So I was just being myself, but I think he saw through that to the point that when the laptop was stolen, he knew that Jessica wouldn't do this. And when the money disappeared, he knew Jessica cannot do this, because I don't know what he saw. Maybe he was a good judge of character, or maybe God spoke to him.
Definitely God spoke to him about it.
Yeah. So he was like, no, Jessica wouldn't have me.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you're at the head office, you are earning more, you've gained the trust of your previous roles, things have been, working out for you consistently.
Yes.
I wonder what concrete walls you had to face at the head office.
They were concrete walls. at the head office. They were, regardless of the promotion and the increased salary, they were concrete walls.
Oh my goodness. If you guys want to find out what happened next, you have to stay tuned for episode 6 of the unpacking of my mother's memoir, Shooting Through Concrete Walls. Today was a lovely one. I hope you are all inspired. I hope you're all, riled up, ready to fight spiritual warfare, but
Stay prayerful.
stay prayerful and stay wise, and always move in the spirit rather than the physical, because then you leave room for miracles. You're not acting out of your own emotions, but you're letting God lead, which is exactly what you did to reap all those beautiful outcomes. You put God first.
Yes, definitely I did.
Wow. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Click, like, subscribe, and comment.
Bye.